So I am having problems with my camera this morning, so you don't have to see my face, you just get to see the lovely presentation that I put together. So as all of you are well aware, and I know some of us are actually getting rain right now, which is a huge blessing, but this growing season has been very difficult with the fact that it has been so hot. And I don't know about where you all are located, but I feel like the sun has even been hotter than what it typically is during this time of year. And that does play effect into our gardening and what kind of crops and stuff that we can produce. So what we're going to cover over the course of the next 15 minutes or so is going to be just different watering practices, watering systems, and the equipment that we can use to help kind of combat some of this heat that we've been dealing with. Mulch, shade, the stress that the heat causes towards the plants, and then also you need to remember when you're gardening or when you're doing anything agriculturally related or anything really in general, that you need to take consideration for your own health and well-being as well. Because just like the heat affects the plants, it also affects us as people. So some of the watering practices, which are kind of general, that you need to consider is just making sure that foremost, you're checking your soil moisture daily. So in a typical growing season, you don't necessarily need to water every day because we have that average rainfall. This year, that has been not the case. So you want to make sure about fingertip depth deep, so 1 to 2 inches, that you're having that soil is moist so that the roots can take that in and the plant can utilize that to the best of its ability. So if you are out in your garden and it doesn't look, you see the signs of stress or the drought, the leaves are starting to curl, then you can tell that those plants are thirsty and that they need a drink. And you want to make sure that you're keeping track of that. So make sure that you do that daily. You want to make sure that you're checking it. When you do water your plants, it's a good practice to water in the morning. I know I've heard both sides, watering in the morning and in the evening, but you want to water when it's cooler. And when you water in the morning, it allows that plant to uptake that water and fully hydrate before that heat of the day sets in. And when you water in the evenings, you're putting your plants to bed wet. There's a saying, I can't remember exactly what it is now, but pretty much just don't put your plants to bed wet, because that leaves them susceptible for any kind of disease or bacteria or fungus and things to grow, because you're leaving that area moist. It's not having time to dry off. So make sure that you're checking your moisture daily. You want to make sure that you're watering properly and that you're getting that root depth, meeting that. You want to water in the morning and you want to apply the water efficiently. So what I mean by that is that when you have high temperatures like what we've had, there is a larger chance or higher potential for that water to evaporate before it even reaches the roots. Okay. And if that water doesn't reach that root system, then it's not going to be able to absorb it and that plant's not going to be able to utilize that. So instead of putting sprinklers, I know that's a practice that my father used to do all the time. He'd put the sprinklers in the garden, but especially during a heat wave, it's better for you to do spot watering. So that's taking your hose, your spray nozzle, your bucket, whatever you're using, and you're going to water directly at that base of that plant. Okay. So you can use a soaker hose, a drip irrigation system, and that's going to water that plant more efficiently. And you're going to have a more consistent watering practice across your whole garden. So when you do that, it's also a good practice to keep in mind, especially with as much heat as we've had and little rain, that you might want to go down one side of your garden and water at the base. Make sure that you're watering it very efficiently. So you want to make sure that you're getting at least 2 to 3 inches deep. So you're going to have to hold your waterer there so it penetrates and gets down into that root system or that root area. But then you also might want to come back in half an hour and do it again. Okay, that way it's had time to soak into the soil. The plants can start to absorb it, but then you also have some more there that they can pull off of later. So I know currently at my house this year, which I'm thankful we did, we ended up just putting our plants, our crops, our tomatoes, whatever, in containers. My 5-year-old and my 3-year-old love to help out, and it's just easier for us to manage the containers right now. And we have had to water daily since pretty much the end of May, because containers and hanging baskets, they're going to need more water. They're going to dry out a lot more. It's not going to be as efficient as when you have the plant directly into the soil that can pull up and utilize that water. So depending on what kind of container you're using, if you're using like a terracotta container that's not glazed, it is porous, so it's going to evaporate water a lot faster than other things. So you just need to make sure that you're watching them on a daily basis as well, and that if they're showing signs of needing water, that you're doing that. You're applying enough water for them to thrive, okay? And one of the benefits about containers, though, is that you're able to move them back and forth. So that's part of the reason we did containers too. But if you have anything that you've planted recently, I know some people are starting to put in their fall crops now. You want to make sure that you're watching them to make sure that they're not getting any kind of stress, any kind of, you just need to make sure that they're being watered more frequently so that you're giving them a chance for a better start. If you do see that they're starting to have any kind of sounds of water stress where their leaves are starting to curl, they might start turning brown, you might need to make sure that you're watering them a little more efficiently. And then always check your soil moisture prior to watering. I know that is a lesson that has been very hard for my 5-year-old to learn, that just because some containers dry out faster than others, or those plants in there utilize more water, like our tomatoes are really heavy feeders. There are other ones that don't need watered as frequently. So he has learned that you can kill stuff by overwatering. And that was at the beginning of the season. But so just make sure that you are keeping in mind that not everything might need to be watered at the same time. When it comes to equipment, I know we bought or purchased a high quality watering wand, and that helps a lot because we do have some hanging baskets that we keep strawberries and stuff into. So it's a lot easier, especially since the kids are helping, to use that wand because it's longer. So it's not as much bending or stooping or trying to stretch to reach into the hanging baskets for them. But then it's also, it soaks. So it gives that concentrated amount of water in the area that it needs to be at. And then you want to try to avoid using any kind of spray nozzle, because I'm sure you guys have noticed if you use a spray nozzle, it pushes soil up out of the way, and it can cause some damage to the leaves and some other areas. So you just want to make sure that you're giving a drenched amount of water to that concentrated area that you need it. You can also utilize drip tape, and that's the picture down below. It has some drip tape in there. That's an efficient way because you're making sure that you're watering at the base of the plant. If you are not, I know we've had several calls from people in our area who it just doesn't work out for them always to water in the mornings, even though that is the best practice to follow. And so they do water after the heat of the day starts to kick in around 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock or so. And one of the things that I emphasize to them is to make sure that you are watering at the base of the plants opposed to just doing like the full coverage foliage, because you don't want to have that water sit on those leaves and stuff, especially not during this intense heat that we do have. If you've recently planted like a shrub or a tree, you put in some trees for an orchard and stuff, one of the things that you can do when it comes to a watering system for those is have a bucket. I've seen people who will take like 5-gallon buckets. They'll have holes in the bottom, and they'll just fill those buckets up around the tree or close to the base of that tree. And then that way it's a slow feed of that water through the holes in the bucket into that root system for that tree. And so that's more consistent, and it's better for them to have that type of watering system. So mulch has a lot of different benefits, and mulch can be anything from newspaper to wood chips to compost to leaf litter to lawn clippings. Anything that you have that can cover the surface, you can use for mulch. Any kind of organic matter that you might have laying around that you can reuse. So one of the benefits, especially when it's coming in mind with the heat wave, is that having that mulch helps reduce that evaporation because it keeps that water in that soil level. So you're adding that extra top layer that works as kind of like a buffer. And mulch also helps when it comes to, I mean, it helps during the heat wave, but then in the winter, when you think about it, like you have to mulch over your strawberry plants because it helps that soil stay warm. But in the same aspect, in the summertime, it's going to add shade to that soil, okay? So it's going to keep that root level, that root system, it's going to keep it cooler by keeping that area covered on top and not being as affected by the sun. Another benefit of applying the mulch is weeds. So one of the things that I always notice in a garden, especially when it's hot outside, is that if your plants are struggling, your weeds are thriving. So it's really good to keep the weeds down in your garden, especially when you're in water restrictions or you're having to do more watering, because that's less competition that those plants have with gaining all of those that nutrients that they need in that water source. So mulch is a benefit because it also helps you from having to pull the weeds as much, because it'll help keep them at bay. One of the things that you can also do is add shade cloths. So if you keep a shade cloth on it, it's going to keep that temperature lower, and you're not going to have as much heat stress with those plants. And when you add that, you're reducing the heat, which reduces the water loss. So you're not going to have as much evaporation, and those plants are going to be able to utilize more of what they have. So like I mentioned before, the benefit of containers is that you can move those. So when you have a container, you can move it to a more shaded area as you need it or as it sees fit. If you're not able to move the garden, the container, whatever you have planted, then it's really simple. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be anything snazzy. It doesn't have to be anything really expensive. You can use anything from, we've used cattle panel and just made hoops and put shade cloths over top of it. You can just put 4 posts in the ground and pull it tight. Just something that's going to help shade that area. And so depending on what kind of material you decide to use for your shade, whether it's a shade cloth, a tarp, a sheet, they're all going to have different levels of shade that they can provide with when it comes to like blocking the rays of the sun, so that different levels of light that's going to be coming in, but something is still better than nothing. So offering that shade is still going to be a benefit, and it's going to be helpful to your plants. One of the things you do want to keep in mind though, when you are applying the shade or putting on a cloth, is that you don't want it to be in direct contact with any of your plants, because that could cause potential leaf burn or some other problems and stress related for those plants. So you want to make sure that they have the shade, but there's still enough area that you are able to have some airflow through, and that they're not going to be touching those plants directly. So stress, some different things that could cause stress in plants during a heat wave is fertilizer. So when you're applying fertilizer, you want to promote growth, okay? So fertilizers promote growth for those plants. During a heat wave, all of your plant processes are going to start to slow down. The photosynthesis, the respiration, all of that is going to slow down. So the plant's going to be stressed out trying to overwork, doing things that they don't really have all of the energy or the resources to utilize. So I would hold off during any kind of heat wave. So the last couple of weeks when it was super, super hot, would not be the ideal time to fertilize right now. If you are planning on transplanting any plants, like you're working on your fall crop, putting in that now, I would hold off on that, on any kind of transplants or propagating, just because when you do new plantings or you propagate something, it can add more stress when you're putting it in that environment that's not giving it all of the ideal conditions. So you want to make sure that when you're transplanting, that you're going to have that moisture, you're going to be able to apply water to them, and they're not going to have as much of that heat stress that they're going to have to go through. And then it's important to deadhead, because so many plants are actually going to stop blooming when they go through a heat wave, the heavy heat, anything above 90 degrees. But if you do have blooms or anything on there, or you have some dead parts, that it is a good idea to deadhead. Not only is it more visually appealing not to have all of that there, but then you don't have parts of the plant trying to compete for different nutrients and resources. So you're cutting down some of the work and the energy that plant has to put out so it can thrive. And then bolting. I know this is a personal preference. Some people don't mind, some people do. If you have any families or like the brassica family, so like your broccoli, things like that, they'll bolt when it starts to get really hot, and that's just a survival mechanism that it goes through, like the lettuce in the picture. Once it gets above a certain temperature for so long, it's going to start trying to go to seed. as a survival method. So some people, in order to cause less work for them with having to water and maintain, or if you're in a plot or an area where you're watering and you want to make sure that you're using your resources more efficiently, they'll go ahead and pool anything in the brassica family, or your lettuce, your kales, things like that. But you don't have to, but that's just a suggestion of something that you could possibly do to help reduce some of that stress on the plants that are in that surrounding area. And then again, lastly, it's really important not to forget about you, yourself, the gardener, while you're out there working during a heat wave. So one of the main things is that you want to make sure that you're working when it's cool. So whether that's getting up early and working in the morning, or even in the evenings once things start to cool off, to get out there and work. You want to make sure that you're always carrying water with you, so you always have some sort of way to hydrate yourself, not just the plants that we're concerned about keeping alive, but also hydrating yourself, because water is good for you. I know this day and age, it seems like everybody's always carrying a water bottle, so it's not as big of a concern, but it's still something that needs to be mentioned. You want to make sure that you're protecting your skin. You want to make sure that you're wearing sunscreen, you have a hat, and that you take breaks as needed. I know, depending if you have a large garden, if you just have containers, if you have a smaller garden, it's still a lot of work for you to keep and maintain, weed, water, whatever you're doing to keep your garden thriving. You need to make sure that you take breaks, whether that means you need to go inside for a while just to cool down, or if you just need to sit and have a drink of water. And it's always important that you know what the signs of heat exhaustion are and heat stroke. I know we've had producers with gardens, hay production, cattle, all that stuff, who've just talked about being out in the heat so much this summer, that it's really good for you to know what your body is telling you, and that you're paying attention to what your needs are. If you've stopped sweating, if your body temperature just feels hot, if you have a headache, you feel faint, like you're going to be dizzy and faint, you need to slow down, get into a cool place, drink water, and when needed to, you might even need to go to the hospital. So that's all just things that you need to keep in mind for your own personal safety as well, not just keeping your garden going. So here is the QR code for the survey for you to get points for your county. And your code word for this week is hydrate, because there's not much we can do to change the heat that we are experiencing, but we are able to bring water to those plants to help them grow and continue to thrive. So it's important that they stay hydrated, as well as you, the gardener, stays hydrated. And then, did you guys have any questions?
Well, I do really appreciate that, Jessica. I think that was fantastic. And I really like the reminder to make sure that everyone is hydrating while they're working on their gardens, because like you said, it's important to keep your plants hydrated, but yourself as well in all of this heat. So I definitely appreciate that reminder. Does anyone have any questions for Jessica? We might be having a quiet group today. I feel like it goes back and forth every week. We have quiet groups and then we have the talkers. So
Hey, I'm okay with either.
Mary in the chat says, thank you for all the information.
You're absolutely welcome. And Keely, I told you I'd send you a copy of the PowerPoint too. That way, in case anybody was interested in it.
Yeah,
I know they really like that hydration graphic.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this, a recording of this will be available on our YouTube channel. And of course, I always post that to Facebook so you guys can find it. But yeah, if you want a copy of these slides, you can just reach out to me and I can send them to you. So just let me know if anybody wants to do that. And make sure you're taking the survey to earn points from your county. I know, like I said, some of the counties are very much so neck and neck right now for that second and third place spot. So make sure you're taking advantage of those points.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you. And if anybody has any questions, you can always comment on the Facebook post and I can reach out to Jessica if you think about a question later. So thank you so much. You have a great day. I really appreciate you hopping on.